Coming up on CHGO Cubs, let's not call it a Flexen, but the Cubs just signed an all-star. What Justin Turner and a former Southsider might be able to do for your Cubs, plus a Theo betrayal and a Vlad Guerrero dream. We're chilling like ice, ice, baby. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast. It is Tuesday, February 18th. It is freezing cold but sunny in the Windy City today. We appreciate you joining us for the CHGO Cubs Podcast. If you're listening in podcast form later, make sure you go back and give us a shot on YouTube. It's the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience is to subscribe to that CHGO Sports YouTube page. Give it a like while you're there. Give us the thumbs up. I see people have done it in the live YouTube chat. They're part of the show. We're part of the show. We're all part of the show. Sickos unite is what we like to say.
Sickos unite. They missed you yesterday in Mexico.
Mexico was great for one day. It really was. Also known as President's Day. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo, and Sean Anderson running the ones and twos.
Weirdly enough, you're the only person in this office that got President's Day off.
Well, I didn't get it off. I took it off. I celebrated, if you will. You know, just in honor of all the great presidents we've had. Or big no daycare.
I was going to say, big of you.
Yeah, so we're back. Anyway. It's cold. I saw Norton was here yesterday.
He was.
Everybody was talking about how old I was. I heard each of you mention my age at least once in the show.
It wasn't like I tried to do it.
I think you may have mentioned it first. Sean was the one that really backed up the bus, and then Patrick just kind of agreed with it because he's a fairly nice guy. That's okay. I am what I am. So we have a signing.
Wait, what? And what are you? You are what you are. What are you?
What am I?
Yeah.
Partially German and English.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
but
old.
American.
I was going to say old.
American. Old American, yes.
Anyway.
We have a signing. We finally got a signing. An all-star, if you will. They didn't get Bregman because of Theo, maybe. We'll talk about that. I saw that the godfather of the CHGO Cubs podcast is already here, and Michael Collada says, am I supposed to be excited about signing a 40-year-old guy that nobody else wanted? We'll get to that in a second. We'll talk about some other big names around baseball. One maybe becoming a DH, another one maybe becoming, and definitely becoming, a free agent. And pitching depth. We're going to hear from some of the Cubs, too. You guys ready to go? Ready to do it?
The show started about like 3 minutes.
Oh, we're on? This is on?
Yeah. We've been live for about 3
minutes. Oh, the show is on. Never mind.
We are live, yeah.
Never mind. We'll talk about cookies later. By the way, I'm off the sweets.
Nice.
I've been off the sweets for 24 hours. If I seem a little scattered, I've been off the sweets for 24 hours.
Let's go.
Until my birthday next month, I'm off the sweets.
Yeah, great. March birthdays are good. They're not as good as May birthdays, but March birthdays are good.
Early March, yeah.
Anyways,
I'm off the sweets for now. So if I'm not myself the rest of the week, you know why.
All right. Well, Justin Turner, 1 year, $6 million.
2-time All-Star, World Series champion, and even though he is 40, correct, don't deny that he is 40 years old, and he looks like one of the wildlings from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
He was productive last year for the two teams he played for. He still can hit.
Yeah,
last year he still could hit.
It's crazy. His numbers actually got better when he went to Seattle. Yeah. There's a narrative out there that like Seattle's like a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. So, you know, I think people need to understand that he's going to be a bench piece. He's not going to start at third base over Matt Shaw. He's obviously not going to play over Michael Busch at first base. And Seiya Suzuki's going to be your DH, right? But when you look at this bench, I've seen a lot of comments in our chat over the last 2 months about, man, I don't know how I feel about the bench. Like,
Well, he makes the bench better.
He makes the bench better. How many at-bats do you think he gets this year? If the Cubs are good, how many at-bats or plate appearances?
Or how many games does he even play in? Like, he played 139 games last year. Is he going to play in 100 games this year? I don't know.
Maybe.
Listen, if he's making starts and getting all these at-bats, something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
He's an insurance plan on that, in that it's a veteran guy who, we could talk about the winning aspect of it, but he's been there, he's done that. He's hit walk-off homers against John Lackey that we can't forget, right? Like,
yeah,
he's been a good player. He's won it before. Last year, 259, 11 homers, 55 RBI. Do I expect his numbers to be that high this year with the Cubs? I'd like the 259 to still be there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like him to hit 10 homers, but that seems high for a guy who's just going to be hopefully a backup to a Rookie of the Year candidate over at third base.
Yeah.
And filling in for Michael Busch, who, in my eyes, I still consider a rookie. He played a whole season, but he went through the whole rookie thing last year. So I don't know what Michael Busch is going to be this year. He gives you a little insurance, a little leeway, some fill-in games. Even if Nico isn't ready to go at the start of the season as he hopes in Japan, Paul Sullivan even put it in the Tribune, like, could he play second base? He could. He doesn't play second base, but could he play second base if you needed him? Probably not as likely as somebody else moving over there, but he gives you a little depth and flexibility. There's no reason to get all riled up and angry about signing Justin Turner for $6 million.
People are triggered. Their PTSD is triggered because of Eric Hosmer and Trey Mancini.
I understand that. But those guys were sort of signed to just be
the guy.
Key pieces.
Right.
This guy's not being signed to be that.
Right. People don't understand that. They don't want to hear that. Like they just, that based off my Twitter mentions,
it's a totally different
CHGO
role.
Cubs Twitter mentions, like the people overreacting this, they're getting Eric Hosmer and Trey Mancini vibes, and it doesn't make sense to me, but like that's what people are saying.
His numbers last year were better than anything either of those guys did for the Cubs.
Yeah. He had a 117 WRC plus last season. He had had an on-base percentage of 350. Okay, he won't be Patrick Wisdom, but can he be Mike Tauchman?
I don't think he'll be as I don't think he'll be as valuable as Mike Tauchman has been the last couple of years, but I didn't expect Mike Tauchman to be that valuable the last couple of years. Could he be a hybrid of the two? Well, he's going to be better at not striking out and getting on base than...
He'll hit more homers than Mike Tauchman, yeah.
He'll hit more homers than Tauchman. He'll strike out less than Patrick Wisdom.
Yes.
And he'll have a veteran presence on the team that probably neither could, because neither played at that level or won a World Series. Like, he comes with some pelts on the wall.
Is he now the full-time DH? Because, again, it seems like he's pretty cooked at third base. Doesn't seem like he'll have a defensive position unless he can play first base in a pinch.
I don't think he's going to play a lot in the field.
No.
I don't think he's going to play a ton in the field, but he's not your DH. Say as your DH.
Yeah, say as a DH. The only time this guy's going to play in the field is at first base when they're probably facing a left-handed pitcher, and
some off days.
Occasionally, like maybe once every couple weeks at third base, if in a certain scenario. He played 6 games at third base last year. He's played 90 innings at third base the last 2 years. He is very unlikely to play any third base. That said, he has a ton of experience over there, and he can be a mentor to Shaw, right?
Right.
You know? But I think the only way Turner plays any third base at all is if A, Shaw is hurt, B, Birdie is hurt, and
C, Shaw has to go back to Iowa.
You know, Gage Workman isn't on this team. Whatever happens with Brujan, like, he can play third base, but I think he's like, I don't want to say emergency because that's disrespect, but like, he legitimately hasn't been playing third base the last 2 years, a large majority of the time, for a reason. It's because he's older. The defensive metrics aren't nearly as good as when he was with like the Dodgers, right? So I think that he'll platoon with Michael Busch. He'll play some DH on days maybe a matchup for him is better than Seiya's, or they just want to give Seiya the day off, or they give someone else the day off and they put Seiya in right field or left field, right?
You know when days that you'll probably see Turner start when they have like a West Coast game that plays late and then they have to be back at Wrigley to play at 1:20, or they've had a late night game and they have a getaway day the next day and it's like, or a double header. Those are the types of games you're expecting to see Justin Turner starting and maybe playing in the field or filling in for Seiya. Just when you're trying to get a guy a manufactured back-to-back off day, right? Mm-hmm. A game before a scheduled off day that comes. And now you can give somebody, maybe Shaw gets 2 days off to gather himself, and because he hasn't played this much baseball in his life either. Right? So those are the opportunities. We have some sound from Marquee that they put on their Twitter page, and it's two veteran guys, right? It's Happ and it's Dansby. And they're talking about the impact that, while it won't be Bregman, the impact that Turner can make right away and that he might make that you're not thinking about.
I'm pumped. Been a fan of his for a long time, the way he plays the game. I think he's a natural hitter. His ability not only to drive the baseball, but like situationally hit, the swing, the way he thinks about hitting, like all that stuff, I think will be an asset for us.
He's been a really good player for a long time, and I think that he's someone that we can really learn a lot from, just his experience, and he's just such a pro at what he does, that'll, I think, really, really impact this group, especially from a position player standpoint and an offensive standpoint, and he's somebody that you definitely want to have on your team.
Anytime you can lean on guys who have done a lot in the game and experienced a ton of different things, it's a huge asset. You know, that not only does he have Nico and Dansby to talk to about coming up at a young age and what that takes, but a guy like Turner who's reinvented himself, played forever, you know, had success at the highest level, like all of those experiences help form, you know, young players.
Winners start to separate themselves just in terms of their value and how teams perceive them. Winning cures everything. It always has and probably always will. And so the more that you can get guys that have been there and done that and done it on the highest stages, the biggest stages, and been a part of something that's bigger than themselves, the more people you get like that, the better off you're going to be, because they understand what it takes. They understand, you know, how each moment is important. And obviously there's just something about people that enjoy and love winning. And when you get them together, how, you know, that can change culture. So.
Marquee down there, make sure you hit the like button for us. We'd appreciate that, please. Marquee down there, their 360 show is great in the afternoon. Like to see it in the evenings for all the stuff. That's probably my guy, Scott Shagnon, getting a lot of that video. Scotty Shags does great work. Listen, I do want to talk a little bit about what they're hinting at the end, maybe in the next block, like the winning culture type thing. But, you know, no, Godfather, this is not the signing you've been waiting for all offseason. This is not a Bregman signing. This is not something you can do flips over. Is Justin Turner playing third or being in your lineup better than Master Boney or Madrigal last year? That's the question you're asking yourself.
Or even, is he better than Patrick Wisdom? Is he better than...
Yes, would you rather have him than any of those three? Right. The answer has to be yes. And that's no offense to any of those three guys who are all great guys. Patrick Wisdom was very nice to us. Yes, Justin Turner's a more accomplished player than any of those three guys.
Yeah. Well, again, like I did have the only things left that I had real concerns about. I mean, obviously I have concerns about a lot of different parts of the team, but
yeah,
in general, going into the season right now, the only thing before this happened that I really had a lot of concern for was the bench, because, you know, there's a lot of, you know, unproven commodities. Like, yeah, I'd like to see Canario get an opportunity to play a little first base. Yeah, I'd like to see Gage Workman be like some crazy Rule 5 guy that the Cubs magically found and turned into a productive contributor.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see Brujan revive his career with the Cubs. But, like, we don't know what any of those guys are going to do. At least Justin Turner brings a proven track record. And even though he's 40 years old, again, he's not going to start every day. If he gives you on Fangraphs, and the projection might change now because he's with the Cubs, but on Fangraphs they projected him to get 360 at bats. If he gets 250 at-bats, 250 to 300 at-bats with the Cubs this year. That's fine. That's fine. That's if it's less than that, then the Cubs are rolling. Like guys are healthy. Guys are, exceeding projections. Right? That's kind of how I view it. So, no, it's not a sexy signing. There's no other sexy signings that can be had. Alex Bregman's gone, right? Like, so
the last one.
I personally, and we can talk more about this in the second segment, but I personally think that this is it. Maybe they add a reliever, but I feel like they're done.
I feel like they're probably done too. Can they change this into a winning culture? We'll talk about that in a second. It's something Dansby and Hap just hinted at, but first, a word from our sponsors. When it's this cold outside, turn up the heat, stoke the fire, and lather your body in Mando. Apply Mando even where you go commando. It's good on your pits, your nads, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt crack, and your feet. A whole body deodorant, and I mean whole body. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level is a 0 and a hero. That's good news, guys. So, Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off that starter pack with an exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use the code CHGO at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher. Keep your Grundle fresh and dry and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando on your commando.
That was, once again, an electric read there. Luke Stuckmeyer. But
gotta smell good. Even if you're cold,
you gotta smell good. You got to smell good. You got to feel good. And let me tell you what helps me feel good. It's America's first ever USDA organic CBD company, and that's Cornbread Hemp. All right. Their mission is to improve your quality of life with the highest quality hemp. All right. Life's been a little crazy lately. One thing that helps me unwind, it's the Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. All right. After a bad loss, after I watch one of the teams that I like in this world give me a bad loss, this stuff helps me feel better. All right. Some of the things that I like about them, all right, they're made to help you feel better, whether it's stress, discomfort, or if you just need a little relaxation. You can be real stressed, When Luke Stuckmeyer goes to Mexico, I get a little stressed. So when I was putting the show together yesterday, perhaps maybe I popped a little gummy. All right?
You're worried that I might not come back.
Yeah, I was kind of worried that you weren't going to come back, considering how cold it is here, right? The best part of the hemp plant, aka the flower, it's the purest and most potent CBD that they use in making this. All right, it's formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. If I know I'm kind of a night owl, I know my guy Greg Braggs is a night owl. He'll stay up. He'll be on Twitter Spaces all night. He needs to get some of this stuff. That way, he's not staying up on Twitter Spaces till 3 a.m.
He looks tired.
He does look tired all the time. He's exhausted. I'd be exhausted too.
He's exhausted.
I'd be exhausted too if I had to cover the Bears. All right. So anyway, you can get this right now. They're offering CHGO listeners 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use promo code CHGO at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use their code CHGO for 30% off your first order. This is the good life, Luke.
This is.
All right.
Justin Turner's a Cub. Justin Turner's a Cub. This is the good life at 40.
That's exactly what everyone in the chat is saying.
Discriminate against this guy because he's 40. You can do anything at 40 that you could do at 20. Just keep that.
That's what I'm going to be telling myself. I tell myself,
I'm a man.
That.
I'm 40. We need more dogs.
I'm going to go find the Mike Gundy clip.
We don't need more cats.
I'm 33, and I tell myself I can do things that when I was 20. So.
40 is the new 25. Okay. Now, Hap, and Dansby both mention it to talk about a winning guy, a guy that knows how to win, a guy that could be good in the clubhouse. The Cubs have started to accumulate some of these players this year, right? they've talked about making incremental improvements. We know that. Like, just signing or trading for Tucker boosts them in a much bigger increment. But the other ones, everything else has been kind of like Boyd, a little move forward, right? Better than Hendricks, hopefully. Maybe it's Colin Ray, a little bit better than the next guy in line. Maybe it was, they keep making incremental moves. Here's a guy with some pelts on the wall. So I ask you, can having Presley, Swanson, Turner, who else am I? Tucker, these guys that are veterans, that some of them will be a one-year rental. Maybe all of them will be a one-year rental, other than Dansby. Can they help turn this Cubs team from a losing culture the last few years back into a winning culture? Can they teach the next wave of Cubs young players and prospects how to win, how to do it right, and how to actually get past those tough times so that you don't have a tanking month like you did last year where it's just like 2 months of we can't get out of this?
Yeah.
Can guys like this give or lend something to these young guys that will help the Cubs not have a stretch like that this year? Do you buy any of that?
Well, Kyle Tucker is the best player on the team and significantly makes the offense better. So,
Tucker for sure can. But what about
production-wise, sure, yes. And as far as what does Justin Turner's veteran presence and all the other cliche stuff, the experience, going to the World Series, being on all these winning teams, being part of the Dodgers organization for as long as he was, right? Like, how do you measure that with the Cubs at age 40? The only way I can find a way to compare it to anything is if we just look at David Ross whenever he came over with John Lester. And we know that they signed David Ross because that was John Lester's personal catcher, right? But I don't think any fan expected him to be like what was framed as like a leader or anything like that. And, they needed it. He turned out to be a massive addition to the team. Now, I think a lot of people also think he got a little overhyped, and maybe it's because of the World Series and all the stuff that the team kind of pushed.
He did get carried off on the player's shoulders, but he also deserved it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, he hit a homer off Andrew Miller in Game 7, right? I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm just saying that I hear the critics say about how a lot of that is overhyped. So, all I know is that Justin Turner brings a winning attitude, a winning mentality. He's been on a lot of winning teams, and this team doesn't have a lot of those guys. All right, so I do think, if anything, if I could take anything away from Justin Turner being on the Cubs, is that I hope he can help mentor Matt Shaw a little bit at third base. He's not going to play there, but he played a lot of years there. He knows how to play the position. Right. He can be a guy that gives him different perspective on how he does things, and maybe some new workout tips, whatever. It's all stuff that we'll never be able to actually see ourselves on the television, but I just don't. It's hard to figure that out,
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Thank you. See, and by the way, Rogue Wave Creative says, Luke, literally love you too. That said, talent wins, not old dudes with speeches. Old dudes can win too. Old dudes can win too. You watch Kyle Hendricks pile up 15 wins this year, and maybe not.
If he wins 15 games with the Angels,
it'd be incredible.
Isn't he still like 4 years younger than Justin Turner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not important. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Let me flip this. I said, can these old guys who have won it and have the rings to show these players and say, I know this is what it takes for you to go from here to here. You have to do this in your offseason workout. You have to do this every day at the ballpark. That's how I watched winning teams be built. Some people don't buy that. What about the flip side? So I said, can they turn it from a losing culture into a winning culture? Do you believe that the Cubs, after winning the World Series in the golden era, turned into a losing culture? Do you believe that script actually happened and they were losing games because they didn't know how to win games? Oh. And I would say this. There have been moments, the losing for 2 months where nobody could hit on the team.
Yeah. Last year.
The stretch where they ran out of gas, but the moments where it was like, Seiya dropped the ball, or like, have there been losing moments? Has there been a losing culture? I'm not going to say it's a losing culture like, this is no offense to Sean's White Sox, but like how you knew the Sox were going to lose last year because they all hated each other and guys were fighting. That's not the losing culture I'm talking about, but just one where young guys are coming along and they just don't know how to break out of a slump, that type of thing. Do I buy any of that? Yeah, I put a little stock in it. I'm not going to go out and buy all the stock, but I'll put a little bit of stock in it.
Yeah. Well, Miguel Amaya, for example, the reason that he broke out of his 3-month slump was because a guy like Nelson Cruz kind of helped him change his batting stance and helped him. Like, it makes no sense on from an outside perspective on how that happened. Didn't know he knew Nelson Cruz well, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, Justin Turner, even at 40 years old, was still above league average hitter last year. Yeah, he can help some of these young guys in terms of hitting and stuff like that. So I think Presley can be a great veteran presence for a lot of the young guys in the bullpen, like Porter Hodge, Luke Little. Like, when we talk about the Cubs bullpen the last year and a half, I feel like the big thing we push down on is command.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guys who stay in the game and last as long as a guy like Brian Presley has, those guys just throw strikes. Those guys, they not only did he close games with, like, in high leverage, biggest moments of his in World Series history or playoff history for the Astros, the guy throws strikes. And so his presence can help some of those young guys in the bullpen, I think, and maybe they can find a way to take that next step and be more consistent and have a better command, Listen, what are you smiling? Like, what are you laughing?
I'm laughing at the live YouTube chat because Barb has had some great comments over the years, but the one asking if Cody has a neck brace on and is he hurt because you have such a substantial hoodie. It's a hoodie. But it's a substantial hoodie. It's the CHGO pizza box one.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, it does look like it's stacked. Like, that's not just some flimsy little hoodie. That's a big hoodie. Barb thought it was a neck brace.
Yeah. She got your attention. Credit to her.
Credit to Barb. Sorry, anyway, I interrupted your train of thought.
The point is with this conversation, which, again, none of it is measurable. Like,
right.
I thought they brought in some proven veterans who can help a lot of these young guys out. We've learned throughout the years that you can't just win with a bunch of young guys. You got to bring some vets in. Of course, the team isn't perfect. Of course, the team isn't a World Series contender, but are they in position to make the playoffs? Are they in position to win this division? I would say, compared to on the very last day of the season in September to today, yes, they are in position to make the playoffs, to win the division. And if they don't, man, am I going to be really depressed.
I'll just say I was all good with the Turner signing. When they didn't get Bregman, it was like, okay, they need to get Turner because you need a backup first baseman. And we know he can also do that.
Like, Mark Canha was another option as well.
Fine, that wouldn't have changed my life either way if they went that direction, but this guy is a more proven player. Yes, he's 40. He took less money than some other teams were offering. I saw Gary say that John Heyman just tweeted out that it's 6 plus 2.5 in incentives, which is pretty good for a 40-year-old guy. But, like, hey, I hope he gets the 2.5, I think, right? Because it's like, if he gets to the incentives, whatever they might be, that means he's playing a lot and he's playing well. I want him to play well. I don't know how much I want him to play because that means,
yeah.
Like I said, I don't know how many games he's going to play. 100?
I feel like he could play every game, but, like, he'll be the guy who comes up in a lot of, like, guys on base.
Not the whole game, a piece of the game. They need a pinch hitter.
He'll be a good pinch hitter.
That's a guy I wouldn't mind having at the plate with the game on the line.
Especially if a guy that started, like, say Bush is due up and whoever's coming in is a left-handed pitcher. Like, let's just put it into the scenario, late game situation. I know a lot of people think Bush can hit lefties. I personally still do not feel great about Bush facing left-handed pitching. I hope he can take a step forward because Anthony Rizzo once wasn't unable to hit left-handed pitching, and he got better at it, right? Maybe he just needs more bats.
A little more insurance for this season.
But if there's a situation where Craig Counsell doesn't feel good about Michael Bush going up against a left-handed reliever, you got a guy in Justin Turner who works it back, gets on base, gives you, and has a lot of experience in those run-scoring situations. And as we talked a lot about last year, they really struggled with runners in scoring position a big different portions of the season. So I just think that he brings you experience. He brings you a guy situationally who can get on base for you, can hit the ball over the fence still, not as much as he used to, but he can give you a good at bat in a big moment, I think.
Cubs have also signed the White Sox second best player last year. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Is he really?
Hooters, an experience like no other based on years of hard work. Great place to watch games, load up on the best wings and chicken fingers in the world. Every Tuesday in February right now through the 25th, so a few more days left, your wing cravings can make a difference. Hooters is donating a portion of chicken wing sales to Holy Family Schools, helping fund tuition, books, classroom supplies, and more for under-resourced communities. With support of our Chicagoland Hooters family, they have raised over $1 million since 1992. So let's keep it going because kids can't fly without wings. Go watch a big game at one of their 11 Chicagoland Hooters locations: Aurora, Countryside, Downers Grove, Joliet, Lansing, Melrose Park. They got them in Schaumburg, Orland Park, O'Hare, Wells Street, you name it. You can even order online for pickup and delivery. Check them out at originalhooters.com.
I might get some Hooters tonight.
Honey barbecue.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. All right, Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. If you are a real sicko and you want to go watch Illinois ruin your life in person tonight, you can drive up to Madison and then pull up Game Time and buy a ticket last second.
Pick up a whole bunch of wings on the way there.
You can stop at Hooters, eat them on the way to Madison, and then Illinois is gonna. Yeah, I don't even want to watch the game tonight, to be honest with you, but I'm going to because I'm a real sicko. But I'm not driving up to Madison. But if you wanted to be a real sicko, you could. And just when you get to the Kohl Center, bring up Game Time. You get the ticket probably at the best value right before tip-off. And that's the point that I'm making here is the longer you wait, the more likely you're going to get a better value ticket, all right? So there's that. I mentioned Game Time Picks, which makes it easier to find the value for these types of tickets, not just for sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, all the events going on here in Chicago. They have all-in pricing. Everyone knows Luke hates a bait and switch. When you talk about that feature, it shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. They have a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. As I mentioned at Wrigley Field before, there's polls. So, make sure you're not sitting behind a pole. Game Time will help you with that. And they have the lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Right? Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry with Game Time ticket coverage. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Very nice. So Justin Turner, 1 year, $6 million. That's the headliner of the day. The one that was before that, Sean might be able to tell us a little bit more about. Chris Flexen, minor league deal, invite to major league camp. Maybe I oversold it by saying he was one of the Sox 2 best players last year. Crochet was number 1, but they only had 2 guys that could win games, and Flexen was one of them. Am I wrong?
You are wrong because you're forgetting. Well, first of all, you're talking about a guy who had a 3-15 record. So no, they really didn't win games with him.
I was gonna say, what are you talking about?
He notably had a terrible record.
Don't let facts get in the way of a good story.
This is not a good story. Okay. He was fine. Okay, so I would have been fine if he's going to be in brought him back. That's fine. If he's going to be in Iowa, that's fair. I mean, if you're looking at the signings that the Cubs have made, I still don't understand Matt Boyd getting $14 million and Chris Flexen getting a minor league deal. I thought Chris Flexen would have been a part of the White Sox deal going forward because he was able to give them 160 innings last year. He maxed out all of his incentives.
Top 2 player.
Made himself $1 million. It's still not true. You're forgetting about Eric Fetty. He was also on the team. Eric Fetty was so good in his 3 months with the White Sox that Chris Flexen couldn't beat him in 5 months. Okay?
Maybe I'm confusing the two.
But I think what he brings is a similar vibe as a right-handed Drew Smyly. He's not going to be a guy that you're going to have a ton of confidence because Chris Flexen's on the bump, but he can go out and get the job done, and especially with a team that has such an emphasis on defense, infield defense as well. I think it's a really good signing, and it's a good signing for depth. Again, it's a minor league deal. I thought he could have gotten a major league deal, so 2 thumbs up on this one. I think I would have gone with the other former White Sox, Paul DeYoung, than Justin Turner. So don't
local guy. Yeah.
Don't really get so upset at the 2024 White Sox. There's some gems on that team.
Listen, Flexen is starting pitching depth. You're not expecting him to make 15 starts this year. He might make 1 start that makes a difference at a time in the season where you're just completely beat up and you don't have somebody that can start the second game of a doubleheader, and there's not a young guy to take that ball to start the game. Flexen could be that guy. That's what you're talking about. You're hoping he's not going to pitch as much as Schwarmer did. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Nothing against Schwarmer.
Matt Schwarmer.
Matt Schwarmer.
Yeah.
But or who was the other guy that was pitching at the same time? And I actually thought he was going to come back, and then he got hurt. He was pretty good at times. Schwarmer and
we're talking about the 2022 Cubs right
2
now.
years ago.
No, this is 2022. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, come on, chat. You can help me out on this. Schwarmer and the other guy who had some really nice starts.
Wesneski, Farrell, Mills, Efros,
no,
Keegan Thompson,
no,
Wade Miley.
No.
Mark Leiter Jr.'s there.
Adrian Sampson.
Sampson. Bingo. There it is. Adrian. You're hoping he's not going to pitch as many games as Adrian Sampson, but have a similar type impact. A guy that you're going to forget he's even in the organization.
And he'll show up.
In late July, he'll come out and he'll throw 5 good innings. You'll be like, wow, that actually turned out okay that we gave him that minor league deal and an invite to major league camp. That's what you're hoping for. Yeah. Last year, the Cubs, Becky's got it, Adrian Sampson, yeah. Last year, the Cubs used 11 different starters. Okay. Who were they and how many, and how has that list improved? Like we talked about those incremental depths real quick. Here we go. It was Steele, Shota, Tyone, Assad, Hendricks, Wisniewski, Wicks, Brown, Killian, Pearson, and Luke Little as an opener that one time.
I said, wasn't Pearson an opener too?
I believe so. Yes. So 2 of those guys are openers.
So technically 9 stars.
Technically 9. Now here's the list of guys that I could see could theoretically start a game for the Cubs this season, not including openers, okay? Steele, 1, Shota, 2, Tyone, 3, Boyd, 4, Ray, 5, Assad, 6, Wicks, 7, Brown, 8, Horton, 9, Flexen, maybe 10, Killian, 11, Pearson in a pinch, Brad Keller, 13, Cody Poteet has some starting ability.
He's starting on Thursday.
Keegan Thompson could start a game for you. Trevor Richards, Brandon Birdsell, who's injured. That's 17 guys. Do you see what the depth you're talking about there? Now, are they all going to be in the organization at the end of camp? No. But that list makes me feel better than the list last year. Even though it's not apples to apples, there's names in there. If you want to pump it to 9, you go, oh, okay. So it just goes to Wicks, Brown, and Horton, and in an emergency, a Flexen, a Killian, a Pearson, a Keller. They have added some depth in pitching because they realized it was a problem last year.
Yeah.
It's not a big difference, but it's a difference.
Right. They went through some moments, especially early on. You remember last year at the beginning of the year, Steele gets hurt in the first game. Tyone starts the year on the injured list.
I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
So that, Assad really stepped up in April. Jordan Wicks, this was before he got hurt, gave you some solid innings in that first month. And Shota was awesome. Remember the hot start that Shota had? Like, honestly, Shota and Assad were like they kept you alive. They kept you afloat first month and a half. And then Steele came back, Tyone came back, but like they didn't. Ben Brown came in and for Steele and he was good, right? But like as time went on, I feel like kind of ran out of options. When Ben Brown got hurt,
big time.
When Ben Brown got hurt, I said this to Alex Cohen when I talked to him when you were in Mexico.
And Horton was banged up.
Yeah, and
like
Horton,
you weren't going to elevate because
right.
that was a problem too.
Right. Yeah, Horton being banged up hurt, but then when Ben Brown got hurt as well, it's like, wow, like this is really hurting the team, and there's plenty of reasons why you can point at why that failed for the Cubs if you talk about what the front office could have done, what ownership would have allowed, whatever. But at the same time, at the end of the day, like they just didn't have as much depth in that starting rotation as maybe we all wanted. But injuries were a big factor last year. I mean, injuries to pitchers are a big like thing in baseball these last handful of years, like 5-6 years, I feel like. And so to have this many guys, it's good. And that's the only really thing about this Flexen deal that I'm like, woohoo.
Yeah, and it's because Assad has a mild oblique. Birdsell's got a lat thing going on. Brown's returning from an injury. Horton's returning from an injury. Boyd has had lots of injuries. So you have each of these guys has potential, but they have a lot of question marks. So Flexen starting 2 games this summer, does that really hurt you? No. If he's willing to take the minor league assignment, would you like Flexen? I wouldn't mind him in the system, to be honest with you. Anyways, it's not life or death. Major League Baseball, 2 big storylines. One today is the Vlad Guerrero basically announcing to everybody that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. So, we started the dream where we said he could end up on the Cubs. It still hasn't happened, but we started it.
We did originally start it in October of 2023.
Well, he's going to be on the free agent market now, and as he said, he still wouldn't mind finishing his career, or he would like to finish his career in Toronto, but now they're going to have to compete with 29 other teams or the Chicago Cubs.
So I didn't listen to what he said. Like I
think it was a tweet. He said now they got to compete with 29 other teams.
There's like a reporter tweeted this, like the quote.
I don't remember if it was right. Like a reporter was giving direct quotes, or like the source is Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
So he's just planning to go to free agency.
That's it.
He's not going to sign an in-season extension.
Okay. That's it. He will be a free agent at the end of the season.
A reporter, Jeff Passan, up and coming.
Yes.
Said,
I've heard of him. He's got a bad back.
When asked if Blue Jays were close to the contract number, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would have signed, his one-word answer, no. Still, Guerrero said he would have re-signed in free agency and wants to be a Blue Jay for life. He also said now they'll have 29 other teams to beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he's going to be a free agent. Anyways, let's see how let's see how Bush does this year.
See how Bush does, and also I'm not saying that they should do it. I'm not saying that I'm going to put all my chips in for it.
Not saying it's a better than 0.1% chance that they'd get that big of a deal, but yeah.
What I'm getting at here is that I think the Blue Jays are going to be bad this year. I do not think they're going to be good.
Yeah.
So could the Blue Jays flip them at the deadline because their farm system sucks and they're in a really tough division? It seems like they need to do a little bit of a reset. They should have done this reset a year ago, in my opinion. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they end up being better than what I think. Sean, I would love to know your thoughts since you cover the American League more than we do. But I could see him being traded at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Cubs are in it,
Thank you.
I'm into it.
And Bush is having a mid-year?
Or even if he's not, even if he's having a good year. Even if he's having a good year, because this team is still missing that big bat. That's why we wanted Alex Bregman. I'm not saying that I'd sell the farm for him.
Sure.
But I am saying that in recent years, that the trade deadline outside of Juan Soto, and Vlad Jr. is 25, 26 years old, so maybe he's an outlier with Juan Soto too. The prospect capital you have to give up, I don't know what it would be. I'm not selling everyone for him because it's a half season, and
it probably would include Bush though, because or Seiya, either one. But like,
I don't even know. I think they would rather want prospect capital, in my opinion.
But it might include Bush.
Sure.
A possible first baseman. If he's having a year.
All I'm saying is that he's an option that the Cubs should keep an eye on going into the trade deadline if they're in it. I guess at this point, moving Bush for him makes sense just because you have Seiya at DH and he's only going to play first or DH. I don't know what I want. It depends on how he's playing. Before last season, he kind of had a couple down years.
Yeah.
Like he was good. He was productive, but he wasn't
25.
He wasn't 2021 Vlad Jr. though the last couple years before this past season.
No, but
this past season it was awesome.
You forget how young he is though.
Oh yeah, he's very young.
He's young. Craig Brindle says if they aren't giving Tucker $500 million, they aren't giving Vlad $500 million. While Shane Newbank says trade everything for Vlad and Bichette right now.
Well, Bichette, you wouldn't have to trade anything.
Who's going to get more?
Terrible.
Who's going to get more money, or who would you rather have long term? Tucker
Tucker.
Right?
Tucker.
I would rather have Tucker
too, but I think Tucker's going to get more money than Vlad is too.
Yeah, absolutely, because he plays defense.
Yeah.
And he's a left-handed bat. He's not a right-handed bat. Righty on righty power.
First of all, Mills cheaper.
What? Right, but wait.
What'd you say?
He's saying Vlad is possible.
Vlad's going to be a cheaper option than Tucker. I'm joking. Listen, I would take Tucker. I want him to spend all their money on Tucker.
Fine.
At least to Cody's point about bringing up trading, it's a weird division that they're in because Boston's going for it now with Bregman and getting Crochet. The Orioles are competitive. They've won 100 games in back-to-back seasons, but they also haven't added to that team and have lost Burns and Santander. And then the Yankees are the Yankees. They lost Soto, but hey, they still have Judge and they're in a pretty good shape. So, if they're competitive and they're above 500 come to the trade deadline, I think they'll just keep Vlad Guerrero because what we've seen from the Blue Jays is a want to be competitive in the free agent market. They were competitive with Ohtani. They were competitive with Soto as well. How competitive, we really don't know, but at least within the discussions. So I don't think that they're just going to give up on Vlad Guerrero Jr. They weren't able to get him on an extension I think they want, but I don't think they're afraid to go against other teams in a free agent market, especially to keep a player that loves Toronto as much as he does. So I don't think there's going to be a trade scenario for Guerrero Jr. Bichette's different, but I think that Toronto's at least going to be active in trying to keep Guerrero Jr.
I tend to agree with you on that because they did try this offseason. They did sign Santander. They made the trade for Jimenez from Cleveland, right? They missed out on Sasaki. They missed out on Soto, obviously, and then they missed out on Ohtani last year. So, yeah, you're right. They have been trying. I'm very confused on how they're operating, and I feel like their front office is in a very similar situation as Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins is right now.
Two things, though. The rumor is that he will end up in Boston. Everybody thinks he also really wants to play in Boston or the Mets, right? Boston got me thinking about Bregman. And then it got me thinking about, first, Devers is going to have to move to DH. We'll hit that in a second. But I still can't believe what I read this week.
What did you read?
Theo betrayed us. He helped Bregman go somewhere else. He helped Breslow get that deal done. Has he turned in his Cubs card forever, or is he always a Cub?
What did he say?
Theo helped orchestrate the whole thing of Bregman. He was instrumental in getting Bregman to go to Boston.
Okay, so
does that hurt?
I'm very confused on what he did, on what you're explaining to me right now.
In the structure,
John Henry is the owner of the Red Sox.
But he walked Breslow through the whole thing of trying to get and the way to do it and the way to court a player and the way you have to do everything. Apparently, Theo was heavily involved in helping land Bregman for Boston, not the Cubs. So he actually defeated Jed Hoyer, and he chose Breslow over Hoyer, or was Hoyer not asking for that advice and help?
What was Theo's pitch? Give him more money?
I'm Theo.
Increase the amount.
And you will love Boston.
Okay, and here is the conversation. You be Craig Breslow. I'll be Theo Epstein. Okay? Bring. Pick up the phone, Craig. Bring.
Hello.
Hi, you should give Alex Bregman more money than anyone else is willing to pay him. Click. That's the conversation. How actually truly effective is this?
Hi, Theo. This is Alex Bregman. Should I go to the Cubs or the Red Sox if the money were even?
But the money wasn't even.
Money wasn't even.
So you're saying Boston? What?
The money wasn't even.
I think Theo has shown that his bread is buttered forever in Boston more than it is here. You're not upset?
No, because I'm more upset at Cubs ownership. Like I've said the last 2 days during this show.
I'm just curious because I thought I was trying to tweak you a little bit.
And I don't even really care. Like I still don't care that they didn't get him, but I'm more frustrated about the fact that Cubs won't go the extra mile for anyone.
Terry said in the live YouTube chat what I was thinking. Maybe Theo feels a little betrayed by the Ricketts family. That they weren't going to spend the money and that they were going to have to chop it down. And
that's a complete different conversation.
So now he feels loyalty back to where it all started.
Also, to be fair to Demario Hall, who apparently actually read the article, to assemble it, Breslow turned to Epstein, who had been brought in earlier in the year as a senior advisor to Fenway Sports Group.
Yeah,
so the reason why he went to Theo Epstein was because he works for the Red Sox.
I'm saying he's not helping the Cubs.
Because he doesn't work for the Cubs.
Exactly.
Listen.
What are you talking
I'm so confused by your angle here, Luke.
He's over there saying...
Barb is confused by a hoodie.
He's over there saying, listen, Alex, Jed Hoyer's not going to be able to ever get you that cash. Forget about the Cubs. Push him to the bottom of the list. The Red Sox, this is where you want to play. And the wall, we got this wall. It's so close. You could throw the ball over the outfield wall here. And my guy, Breslow, is he a guy? You're betrayed by Theo.
You're never going to get me to slander Theo Epstein on this podcast, okay? I know you're not either. But like
I'm not. I was just seeing if I could tweak anybody out there. Thanks, Josh. Yes, I was trolling.
All you did was confuse me. That is all you did.
Theo was instrumental in the Cubs not getting Bregman. Factual? Cubs didn't give the right opt-outs, Gary. Don't let the facts get in the way.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. But
the Red Sox did because Theo was in charge, Gary.
If
Theo were still here, would the Cubs have landed Bregman? Better question.
No.
Interesting. What about
Luke,
Devers? What about Devers going to DH?
Last Thursday, did you sit here and blame Jed Hoyer for not getting Alex Bregman?
No, I did not.
Exactly. That's in the story. Like that. Like neither one of us sat here and blamed Jed Hoyer for not getting.
Although
Alex
that
Bregman.
doesn't mean that I don't think if Theo were here, they would have had a better chance. That both can be true. No, I'm not saying it's Jed Hoyer's fault. I think
maybe they go with the opt-out after 1 year because Theo doesn't care about draft picks as much as the Cubs do, or
I think maybe
Jed
he's
Hoyer
a little
does.
more convinced. It seems that maybe he's a little more convincing than Jed has been as far as landing. Like, would they have had a better chance of landing any of those big names if Theo were here instead of Jed? I can't answer it, but I think most people, if you put a poll out and voted, would the Cubs have had a better chance of landing? Go through the list: Ohtani, Judge, blah 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 blah. Or is it just strictly money and they had no shot, even if Theo and his magic could wave the wand?
Yeah, Cody, should we just point them to the TV? The new slogan for the Cubs in 2025 is break even. It's comes down to money.
Which is why Theo left, I know.
But also he was accomplished. Like, what else could he have done? Jed had to accomplish something, but Jed had different hamstrings.
Pat says Luke was the kid in school that started drama. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me. You bet. Did you hear what so-and-so said about you? I wouldn't let him say that.
There's
a reason Luke Stuckmeyer sits there and I sit here. Let's just leave it at that.
You want to see a fight on the playground? I know how to start one for two other guys.
You just. I've never been more confused by an angle you're trying to push on this show.
What about What about Devers? The Sox got him, and they have to take one of their young star players and basically move him off third base and turn him to DH.
Did you see the quotes yesterday?
What do you think?
Well, listen, Alex Cora is a World Series winning manager.
Yep.
He's been with the Red Sox outside of like 1 year because they had to fire him because of semantics and whatever, because of cheating, right? They had to fire him for 1 year. Then they brought him back because they said, oh, yeah, a year later, people forgot about this. No, we didn't forget about this, but whatever. Do whatever you want to do. We don't care, right? He's won a World Series with the Red Sox. I actually applaud them for doing what they're doing because Alex Bregman is objectively a better defensive third baseman than Rafael Devers.
Definitely.
Right? Like negative
Defensively
negative
better,
9
period.
defensive run saves, negative 6 outs above average. Alex Bregman, objectively a better defensive third baseman than Rafael Devers. Has Rafael Devers been there longer? Yes. Does he mean more to Red Sox fans? Yes. Is he a franchise cornerstone? Yes. You know what franchise cornerstones do? They adapt to different things, right? You signed a 10-year, $310 million contract a few years ago. You're like 26, 27 years old. You're signed for a contract for life there, basically, right? As a organization, they're doing the right thing. They need to move Devers to DH or first base, whatever is going to make him happy in that aspect. But if they want to win, the best decision for them is to move Bregman to third base and get Devers either at first base or in the DH role. I don't know if Devers can play any first base because he's never played it, but
also Bregman may not be there forever.
Well,
right? Like he may go back someday to being their third baseman anyway, but
sure.
He'll have more flexibility learning another position or being a DH.
He's more likely to be the DH.
Yeah, agreed.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not like he's not making any money there. He's gonna make like $29 million there this year. To me, it's probably an ego thing that's bothering Devers right now. But if it's like the very same situation as me and you sitting here talking about Seiya Suzuki. Yeah, are the Cubs going to trade Seiya Suzuki because he doesn't want a DH? No.
No, it's exactly what you said. It's two things. It's one, for sure, ego.
Yeah.
Two, possibly guys are afraid that not playing in the field will impact them at the plate. Now, it did not at all for Seiya at the end of last season.
Right.
And if you're that great a hitter, I don't think it will at all. But I do think most major league hitters would tell you being in the game and all of those things tend to make it easier to be a hitter when you're involved in it and not just sitting there waiting to hit 4 times.
Right. I will say this, to play devil's advocate to what I really think, which I don't think the Red Sox are going to trade Devers.
No.
Right?
I don't either.
But to play devil's advocate, to give us all some delusional hope, right? It is certainly a thing that we should follow this entire spring. Like if Devers comes out and says some more crazy stuff saying, I refuse to play anywhere other than third base.
Right.
Like he said what he said yesterday because it was almost like it was news to him. But
which is amazing. If I knew about it, how did he not know about it?
Right. Like I thought I was listening to MLB Network today and they were talking about it. And I feel like taking away from it, it would have been bad for the Red Sox to tell Devers before they even signed Bregman that they were going after Bregman and that they were going to move him there. Because what if they didn't get him? And then there's this thinking in the back of Devers' head of like, oh wow, like they don't think I can play third base.
Yeah, they're just trying to move me,
and it creates
somewhere else.
It creates maybe a negative vibe or whatever. It on the outside right now, yeah, it looks bad. Like based off what Devers said in this, like, but I'm just not buying it. Like objectively, Alex Bregman is a better defensive third baseman than him, and if he wants to be part of a winning team, they wants to help that team go to the World Series like they are set up to potentially do this year. If, a lot of their young guys play well and Bregman gives them a good year to go with what they already have, they're like, yeah, like you put all that aside and just play. So I think it is certainly a storyline we should follow, but I really don't think the Red Sox are going to trade that guy unless it becomes a massive, massive, massive thing. And I just don't believe it is even after yesterday. It's going to be something that like the talking heads and the people who are out here trying to get clicks are going to push to try to create a narrative. But I just don't feel like the Red Sox are going to move that guy at all. And they will, and he will just have to, unless it really bothers him that much. And maybe it does. Maybe I'm way off on this, but I just don't see it. And then also, like, if they do try to trade him, are any of these other teams going to play him at third base? Say for the Cubs, do I want them to trade for Devers to specifically play third base? I mean, I guess I could get over it considering how good the rest of their team is defensively.
On how good Shaw is this year.
Sure, right? But the point is that the rest of the league knows how bad he is defensively at third base. Mm-hmm. So he could be traded to another team, and they might not even want to play him at third base.
Look at the two sides of it. You said Seiya. Seiya is almost the same story. Not a good right fielder, but a very good hitter. Yeah. Defensively, not a good right fielder,
right,
but a good hitter. And there were rumors that maybe he was not super into it, but now he's going to do it for the best of the team. It's also like when the Cubs went out and signed Dansby Swanson and Nico had just had a good defensive season at shortstop. But even before they signed Swanson, they went to Nico. That's the opposite way. And he was like, yeah, I'll move to second if you get Dansby Swanson because I want to win. So if Devers is this mad about not playing third base, there's also a little red flag like this is a heavy me guy.
Well, and then
to
also
any other team that's not that he's not a great player, he is.
I think you brought it up, but just to hammer it home, Alex Cora saying, yeah, Kyle Bloom, who signed the extension for Devers, is now in St. Louis. So get over it.
Yeah.
Like, he signed you to be a third baseman, but now we don't think you're a third baseman, and you got to play where we say we're going to play you. I mean, it's a real probably dramatic shift for Devers, who just got paid $300+ million, thinking that he was going to be the future of that team.
I just think that in the moment, it feels like maybe there's some issues there, but overall, like I'm not like someone tweeted at me last night, like the classic, jersey swap, Devers in a Cubs jersey, like this pure on.
Was it Corey?
No, it wasn't Corey. It was just pure on delusion. I appreciate it. No one loves to get delusional like I do, but I think I'll wait until I see Rafael Devers hanging out at a taco place in Mesa, Arizona, like Bregman was like a few weeks ago, before I get really excited.
Pat in the chat saying, talk about what Tristan Casas said from Chris Cotillo, I believe from MassLive.com, said Tristan Casas says he wants Devers to play third base and Bregman to play second base. Asked if he thinks the group of Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, and Marcelo Mayer should make the opening day roster. He said no because of the veterans Boston has in the mix. I read that as Casas has been thrown in trade rumors all offseason and says, if they're on the team, I'm not on the team.
Yeah.
And then if Devers isn't playing third base, he's playing first base, which means I'm not playing first base.
It's a good problem to have over there in Boston with like the young guys they have. Like, and if from an outside perspective like me looking at it, like
listen, they won't have a problem because Theo will smooth it all over for everybody.
Probably.
Theo will take care of business. All right, we're back tomorrow at 1:30. Hopefully it's supposed to be like 3 degrees warmer tomorrow. That would be nice. Shout out to everybody in the live YouTube chat.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. We got 80. Let's hit 100 before we go.
Please and thanks.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either, but we had a 200 strong watching live.
2
middle
degrees
of the day.
tomorrow.
We appreciate that. Thanks for watching. We're back tomorrow at 1:30 right here. CHGO Cubs. We love you. Till tomorrow. Thanks for watching and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.